But first, breaking tonight, a major development in the Russiagate investigation. The Justice Department is taking its case to a grand jury. They are accusing top officials in the Obama administration of conspiring to harm the candidacy and then the presidency of Donald Trump. Correspondent David Spunt explains tonight these new breaking details. Hi, David.
Hi, Jillian. Attorney General Pam Bondi signed this order earlier today directing an unnamed U.S. federal prosecutor to take evidence to a grand jury relating to an alleged conspiracy to tie then 2016 presidential candidate Donald Trump to Russia. Now, Fox News reviewed the one-page order today signed by the Attorney General. A source familiar with the probe also confirms this story. While a DOJ spokesperson declined to comment on the report of an investigation, Fox is told that AG Bondi is taking referrals from the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, quote, very seriously. The source says Bondi believes there is, quote, clear cause for deep concern, end quote, and a need for the next steps. Now, the move comes just a couple of weeks, Jillian, after Gabbard sent a criminal referral revealing what she called, quote, overwhelming intelligence to prove a conspiracy by then President Obama and his national security team to undermine Trump's candidacy and his first term in office. Now, to be clear, there are no charges filed at this point. This is very early in the process. Now, what we're seeing today is taking evidence that the Justice Department believes it has to a grand jury to secure an eventual indictment. Now, we don't know where the grand jury will meet or who would testify. Grand juries determine if there is enough evidence to indict. They may find out there's not. Grand juries in the United States are secretive, and it's normal not to know all the answers at this stage. Again, though, the Justice Department declines comment on any investigation, but Jillian, certainly a story we will continue to follow.
A lot more questions tonight than answers.
All right, Ricky, let's get nasty.
Such a nasty one.
Swung on a mill. Sucker was moving, wasn't it? Wild thing delivered.
You're the puppet.
It's
Give him a heater.
Because you'd be in jail.
That's great. That's the breaking news that Charlie Sheen supports us and has donated to Holly. Charlie Sheen, the Hollywood legend and Ohio native, is now in communication with our show. What a timeline to be a part of today, Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. Ex-Obama officials face federal grand jury in Florida. Yes. To probe whether they created a hoax in order to raid President Trump with the authorization of deadly lethal force. And Hillary Clinton has been subpoenaed to appear in 1 month before the Republicans in Congress House Oversight Committee. Yes. This is breaking news right now. James Comer, Anna Paulina Luna on that committee. She's joining us right off the top. Ladies and gentlemen, she'll be on live with us in seconds. This news broke minutes ago, so we apologize for the couple of minute long delay in locking this news in. It broke at time of recording, and we are ready to rock today. Governor Greg Abbott sends Texas Rangers after delinquent Democrat insurrectionists who fled the state. We'll be investigating their bribery, as we talked about with the Attorney General of Texas yesterday. Again, Anna Paulina Luna off the top. J.D. Vance's brother will be joining the show. He's running for Cincinnati mayor. James Fishbach will be joining the program to talk about firing Jerome Powell and all of the latest financial news. And Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne will also be on the program to talk about re-enlisting Chuck Norris in the Texas Rangers. Come on, baby. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Make sure that you are locked and loaded for the golden era. That means getting out of debt. My friends at American Financing can help you do that right now. And today, most Americans are putting skyrocketing expenses on credit cards, as the DNC wonderfully proved to us. It was Democrats that made everything so damn expensive over the last 4 years. President Trump's trying to fix it, but nonetheless, it is what it is. And there's a lot of people caught in spiraling credit card debt. Make sure you're not one of them. Call American Financing today. Their customers are saving an average of $800 per month. You can unlock the equity in your home, and you can get out from under that massive debt stone. Don't let it crush you. Call now before it's too late. 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. Ladies and gentlemen, very quickly off the top, I did want to note that the incredible Charlie Sheen has supported our fundraiser with Holly, and that we will be doing Holly's first ever exclusive interview with the program, and that will be we'll be recording that, and that will run tomorrow on tomorrow's stream. So very excited about that. We're very excited that we are at nearly. Give me a number, boys. What are we thinking? Are we at $500,000 yet? Are we at $500,000 yet for Holly's fundraiser? 473. Pop the fundraiser up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the official fundraiser for Holly. She will be sharing her story exclusively on this program later today. This has gone worldwide and now has one of Hollywood's greatest comedy and acting legends supporting it. Charlie Sheen sent us a message this morning. What a timeline. Charlie Sheen said this: Benny, I was following your gracious lead. The speed at which you and Senator Moreno hatched this donation plan was stunning, compassionate, and as patriotic as it gets. You both reminded us to keep America. We remain proud. You both reminded all of us of the America we remain proud to call home. Keep up the great work. And Holly, we have your 6 XOXO Charlie Sheen. You can see the message right there on screen. And then also, here's the donation that Charlie Sheen left. $1,000 he gave to Holly. Hi, Holly. Both of my parents are from Ohio. I'm a lifelong Reds fan. Cincinnati Reds, okay. And I also played for the Indians in the movies. This is Major League, of course. I'm sure you've seen it. My Ohio connections run deep, and what happened to you will not be tolerated by the true Ohioans like yourself. As justice will reign supreme, heal well, young lady, and know that we are all rooting for you. Charlie Sheen. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. An exciting moment, and we're proud to be part of it. That it was wild and exciting breaking news for us. But as exciting as Hillary Clinton being subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee? I don't think so. Sounds like Hillary has another date with destiny. Here we go. Former Secretary Hillary Clinton from James Comer this morning will be testifying. Depositions issued for the following subpoenas: Hillary Clinton on October 9th, Bill Clinton on October 14th, Merrick Garland on October 2nd, Comey on October 7th, Attorney General Bill Barr on August 18th, former U.S. Attorney General Alberto de Gonzalez on August 29th, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions on August 28th, FBI Director Robert Mueller on September 2nd, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and Eric Holder, September 9th and 30th, respectively. Anna Paulina Luna posting up this morning. James Comer and Oversight have issued subpoenas to the DOJ for the Epstein files, along with multiple subpoenas going out in the next day or two. Bill Clinton, Attorney General Barr, Garland, they'll be testifying regarding the Epstein case. Joining us live is Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. This news just broke, so she's only able to join us by phone, locked and loaded, live right now. Let's rock and roll. Congresswoman, this is massive breaking news. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. Congresswoman,
Hello?
just checking in. Can you hear us? Yep.
Benny?
Can you hear us? Yep. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Sorry, it was a little bit of a delay there. I can. Breaking
All right.
news. Actually,
Fantastic.
just gone off the phone with the Oversight Committee.
And give us an update here. This it dropped like a massive bombshell. Nobody ever thought we'd see Hillary Clinton being subpoenaed again, and you didn't stop there. What's happening on the Oversight Committee?
Well, look, this came via a subcommittee, and as you know, we're following through on those subpoena requests. So it was actually Democrats. This was a bipartisan vote to actually bring everyone in to testify in regards to their involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. What's been really interesting about this whole thing is that, look, the media has tried to push this like a hot potato. They don't want to talk about the Democrat mega donors and Democrat business owners also political elites that are involved in this. And so to see Democrats vote for that, we're sending the subpoenas. So, there were some people that did not want this subpoena to go through. Those were Republican members of Congress. I won't name them yet. But what I will tell you is, ultimately House Oversight's function is to restore faith in government. And that means that we have to look at people across the board. So we're looking forward to seeing what's in these documents.
Okay, so tell me, this is Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton who will be appearing before your committee. Is this correct? They'll be physically appearing, yes?
Correct, unless they try to fight the subpoena. But I don't see the Attorney General giving them an out like Garland gave everyone else an out when they would defy subpoenas in the last administration. So it's not going to just be them that will be called to testify. But, I would not be surprised if we hear a whole lot of pleading the fifth.
So wait a second. What are you planning on asking Hillary Clinton? This is very exciting, Congresswoman.
Well, we just got news today that we're sending the subpoena. So I'm going to obviously be meeting with the staff and working with some of our investigators and attorneys. But look, also too, this comes at the same time that Ghislaine Maxwell also tried to negotiate, immunity for not testifying to Congress, or saying that she would only come to testify after her Supreme Court date if we gave her immunity. So we're going to be having to vote on that, by the way, at the same time, of which, to be clear, I'm not in favor of giving any sex traffickers immunity, period. But either which way, I think that everyone wants to know, to what extent, to what level was the former president, Bill Clinton, involved with Jeffrey Epstein. We know President Trump had stated that he flew on Epstein's plane many, many times. And obviously, Epstein was not a good guy. So let's just hope that no other people were harmed.
So hold on. Are you going to be asking simply Epstein questions, or are you going to ask any questions about Hillary Clinton and the Steele dossier and the meetings with Barack Obama and the FBI and the corruption therein to try and rig in a hit job on President Trump?
So the subpoena from Oversight is specifically covering the Jeffrey Epstein. I believe it's House Judiciary that actually has oversight in regards to the Russia collusion, Steele dossier stuff. So they would have to send their own subpoena for that information. But as you know, Benny, as long as the subpoena is there and written, they're only required technically to address the issues that the subpoena cover.
Okay, so all of these subpoenas are for Epstein-related issues and not for Obama, Steele dossier, Russiagate related issues.
Correct. And that is for now. It doesn't mean that we can't bring more subpoenas. But again, usually the purview of jurisdiction for oversight covers something different than House Judiciary.
So this is a wild thing, Congresswoman, because we have often railed on this program until our voices cracked that Hillary and Bill Clinton have done hundreds of thousands of hours of interviews, some live, some not. Either way, they've never been asked about Epstein once, which I find remarkable.
Well, they're going to have to answer a whole lot of questions, especially because it's literally going out today. Also, too, it's interesting because the Democrats were the ones that also voted for it. So, look, credit to Chairman Comer where it's due. He did receive a lot of pressure from, again, certain members that didn't want to send these subpoenas, but he's doing the right thing in regards to bringing them in to answer questions.
Excellent. So one fascinating name here is Alberto Gonzales and Robert Mueller. He was the director of the FBI, and Alberto Gonzales was the head of the DOJ when Epstein got his true get out of jail free card. The actual cover up was in 2005, 2006, 2007, when Epstein was allowed to skate, even though they had him dead to rights. Those are, I think, going to be some very, very powerful and important questions. What do you intend on asking, Congresswoman?
I'm asking them directly who authorized this information to be placed in burn bags, and what information do they have about the former deputy director of the FBI destroying evidence pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein, which we know right now the FBI is actively investigating. So this is not a conspiracy theory. This happened. Actually, it was your show that kind of tipped me off to follow up with one of those whistleblowers, and now that's a full-fledged investigation. So kudos to you, Benny.
So hold on. You're confirming to us that the FBI has destroyed Epstein evidence.
I'm confirming that there's an open investigation and that the leads on your show resulted in them finding burn bags pertaining to Russiagate and potentially Epstein. Yes.
Well, this is news to us, and we're excited to hear that. A lot of these things happen, obviously, in a secured environment, but that makes us really happy on this program. So the entire burn bag saga began with our show. Well, that's wonderful to hear.
Correct. It had ties to it for sure.
Okay.
So look, right now, obviously, the American people are rightfully so really frustrated with how, there's been just this lapse of justice within our own government for people that are very elite, very wealthy, very powerful. And I'm just really happy to know that under this administration that people are being held accountable. And I will say this, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, but the fact is that they are arresting, they're going after these people. And, had Tulsi not come forward with that information in regards to Russiagate, I mean, think about it, literally people using their positions of power to violate constitutional rights, civil liberties, go after people, spy. It can't be tolerated in a free, fair society. So thank you for doing what you're doing to cover all this, Benny.
Well, I mean, listen, all we want is the answers. And so, yes, I really hope that you ask former FBI Director Robert Mueller, why did you let Jeffrey Epstein off the hook and say that he was working with the FBI? We have that in the documents, that he was a protected FBI informant, and the FBI recommended that he be let off the hook when they had him dead to rights for the underage sex trafficking of 50 young women. This was in the year 2006. So we really hope that you press old Robert Mueller about that decision, along with Alberto Gonzales, who is the one who forced... We know this as a matter of fact because we've run these leads down. Alberto Gonzales forced the Attorney General, Alex Acosta, to not bring federal charges against Epstein. Why the hell did he do that? Somebody please explain that to me.
We're about to find out.
Yes. Thank you. It's music to our ears. And I just a very quick thought here, Congresswoman, before you go. Do you believe that this is going to be a massive backfire on Democrats for trying to make this the cause celeb? They attempted to smear President Trump with this Epstein issue. Do you believe that this is going to be a massive backfire?
Yeah, and I say that because it was Democrats back in November of 23 that blocked Marsha Blackburn's efforts to get the flight logs. It was Dick Durbin that did that. Democrat senator from Illinois, I believe. So I think that they did not anticipate the transparency. But again, literally one of the most transparent administrations that we've seen so far. And that doesn't even just stop there. I mean, we're getting the MLK, JFK, RFK, all of that. So, yeah, I think it's going to backfire. I also think it was interesting that in their own efforts to, want to bring people out, go after the DOJ, which, to be clear, I do believe the DOJ is going to be releasing their own stuff, probably on their own accord. But they did not maybe realize that they were sending the subpoena to Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and everyone else in between. So that was actually a motion brought forward by Scott Perry. Scott Perry was actually viciously gone after during January 6th. So, interesting. It's a bipartisan effort and they're subpoenaing their top dogs. You have Republicans that are saying, wait, should we really be subpoenaing the former president of the United States? And everyone's saying, well, it's pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein, and also the Democrats agree. So it'll be interesting to see them twist themselves into knots on that one.
Fascinating. Do you intend on, point of personal privilege here, Congresswoman, do you intend on asking Bill Clinton why there is a velour oil painting of him in a Monica Lewinsky blue dress sitting seductively inside of the Oval Office, hanging in the entryway of Jeffrey Epstein's $56 million mansion on the Upper East Side?
I'm sorry about that. My toddler's in the background. I'm pretty
Family
much
show.
last.
Family show?
Yeah, I'm last in the speaking order just based on seniority, but I'm sure someone's going to be asking that question. They'll probably be fighting for that question.
Oh, okay. Well, we know you're on the phone, but we have the photo up right now, and it's as creepy today as the first time I saw it years ago. And Bill Clinton's never had to answer for this. I'm sure there's something more that he knows. Did he pose for this painting? I'm not sure. But you'll have him before your committee. Do you think that he'll claim executive privilege? Will he claim that I guess he can't because he wasn't president. He has no executive privilege because he...
I mean, I think I really am going to be surprised if he shows up. I think they're going to fight tooth and nail with this subpoena. I really do. And I think that we're probably going to have to go for I would really doubt that he's going to come in at the first request. So let's see how this plays out. But pertaining to that oil painting, super creepy. There was a lot of super creepy stuff that Jeffrey Epstein had. I know that Project Veritas had kind of covered that on some of the stuff and photos that they found in his place in the Virgin Islands. So obviously we're trying to go after who should be charged. I think that, there needs to be multiple people charged on this. But one of the issues that we had with getting Ghislaine Maxwell even in to testify on this is that she's wanting, to be basically given a pardon for her crimes. And the fact is that she trafficked people and she
Yes.
wants some immunity, and she won't testify unless we give it to her. So imagine being placed with that. Do you want information, or, you're going to basically be given immunity for all this? And it's a hard decision to make, but I've always stood straight in my convictions that if you're engaging in trafficking, you shouldn't be given a pass.
Yes, she's no hero in this story, and she shouldn't be treated like one. She's the villain in this story. She has a lot of useful information, but she's the villain in this story. She's not a hero.
Correct.
Yes.
And she was, as a result of her decision, she really hurt a lot of young women, and, we'll have to deal with that for the rest of their lives. So it's obviously going to be an interesting September surprise. So
yes.
I'm here for it. I know you guys will be, and I look forward to coming back on.
Yes, some of these subpoenas start in August, at the very tail end of August. This is going to be fascinating. Very quickly, what happens if somebody fights these subpoenas? What happens if they just don't show up? What's the recourse that Congress has?
There's contempt charges, which we can vote on, and then the DOJ can prosecute, which I'm sure Pam Bondi would love to prosecute some of these people. So there's that. And then there's also the inherent contempt charge, which, remember, I brought against Garland. And I doubt anyone would have the backbone to try to stand up to a subpoena, try and get information on Jeffrey Epstein. So I will happily file those inherent contempt charges if we don't see any movement from the DOJ.
Well, this is exactly what it's. I love the fact that we can hear your beautiful family in the background. This is what standing up for families actually looks like. And this is what protecting children actually looks like, is getting to the answers here and making sure that those who were at the very, perhaps just accomplices or sat back and watched, as Cindy McCain says, we all knew what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. No one would go after him. That's what she said. And so it'd be very interesting to ask some of these top law enforcement officials, what did they know and why did they let him go? Because they did something. Alberto Gonzales and Robert Mueller let him go. They let him go, right? They're the guys who did it.
It's going to be interesting to see where this all leads. And what I will tell you, Benny, is that until we really see the files, it's for the most part speculation. But that's exactly why I think transparency is needed. And I look forward to seeing what comes out of it. Yep.
Final note here, just because we've been covering this. Final note here, the depositions from the young women that have already been public says that Bill Clinton liked them young. That's in black and white. That's not salacious rumors from Reddit. That's literally on the documents. And then also Kevin Spacey said that there were young girls on the flight that he took with Bill Clinton and that it put the president in jeopardy. What does that mean? We really hope that you ask.
Thank you, Benny. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, Congresswoman. I'm doing my part, it's like Starship Troopers. It's like, I don't get a chance to ask the question, but we'll just make sure that we're doing our part. All right. We're just going to beat the drums. We didn't know that this would be the top line news today, but here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is breaking all across social media. Let's go ahead and lock in with the top line of this article. Yeah, boys, let's just read right here. Comer subpoenas the Clintons, Trump's DOJ and the House Oversight Committee Epstein probe. First on Fox. The House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed Bill Clinton, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for testimony. Committee Chair James Comer sent a flurry of subpoenas related to Epstein on Tuesday morning, with the Clintons being just two of the people that the investigators will be looking into. Comer also sent subpoenas to the Department of Justice for records related to Epstein's case. And they effed around. They're going to find out on this one, man. Others are being compelled to appear. Our former FBI Director James Comey, Robert Mueller, Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, Bill Barr, Jeff Sessions, and Alberto Gonzales. House Oversight Committee subcommittee panel voted to subpoena these individuals. The DOJ, two respective votes last month during unrelated hearing. This comes as Comer followed through on an earlier full committee vote to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell. However, I could not agree more that she isn't a hero here. She is a villain, and she shouldn't get a get-out-of-jail-free card. She should do the right thing from prison, serve out her sentence, and then to prove that she's actually a reformed individual, Ghislaine Maxwell should give up absolutely everyone. And it sounds like she is. In fact, Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to Bryan, Texas, something called Club Fed, because it is a very low security prison for nonviolent offenders. This is a move that is made for individuals who are either expecting a pardon or who have been cooperating with the federal government. They also granted her limited immunity, meaning that she could talk about crimes without being charged with those crimes. So we'll see what happens. Again, we'll see what happens. We're taking all of this news clear-eyed, and we're very, very interested in the follow-up here. So that's massive news right off the top. Moving on to the news that we were going to talk about. How often does that? It's happened like 3 or 4 times a week, doesn't it? Where we have an entire show built and then something breaks the second we're about to go live. So why it happened so much we made a meme. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and put it up. Massive news breaks before we go live. Klein, ALX. Here's the news from yesterday. Ex-Obama officials face federal grand jury probe into whether they promoted false Trump-Russia ties. Holy cannoli. Let's go ahead and look. I want to start off the top by saying I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I didn't go to law school. I went to community college in a cornfield. But I can tell you this, that if you bring this case in Washington, D.C., it is dead on arrival. Nobody in D.C. would convict these 3, if you wouldn't mind scrolling just a little bit. Those 3 right there. The other man is Jed Johnson. He was in charge of DHS under Barack Obama. Probably should be charged as well. But anyway, the point is that you have to bring this somewhere other than Washington, D.C. And it turns out that that's what's going to happen. This is really important. It turns out that not only are they presenting this information to the grand jury, ALX, do we not have the John Solomon reporting? If not, grab it quickly. It turns out that this is being brought in Palm Beach, which is actually the biggest breaking news. I'm so tired of the comments, nothing ever happens. I'm so tired of it. I have faith. You can make fun of me in a couple months if nothing ever happens. All right? Feel free to make fun of me. I'll make fun of myself. Okay? I'll make fun of myself. I'll eat my hat or whatever the modern day version of that is. Okay? I don't wear hats. I will make fun of myself. All right? Everyone can roast me if nothing actually happens. I am telling you, I'm having conversations right now. Things are going to happen. This grand jury, they're not effing around on this. They're bringing this in Florida. I believe the predicate of that, now, of course, all of this is secret, but the predicate of that would be the Mar-a-Lago raid. Ooh, boy, did we ever talk about that Mar-a-Lago raid. It was, 4 years ago that Mar-a-Lago was raided. And we had, with our show, with our humble 50 people watching the stream, we had Mike Davis on consistently and regularly, and from like the back of a car or whatever, wherever Mike was. It's funny how the world changes. But he kept saying that this was going to be the single biggest backfire in the history of federal law enforcement. And what they've ended up doing, most likely, is bootstrapping this prosecution, impaneling a grand jury where they raided Donald Trump, because the raid of Donald Trump was in order to steal back the Russiagate documents that have now, many of them, been released to the public. And so that is the predicate, that's the crime for impaneling the grand jury in Florida, where you're going to get a bunch of people in a red county that are going to be hearing evidence right now, the evidence that has been presented on the show, and perhaps a mountain of other secret evidence. And that is huge news. Listen, if they were impaneling this grand jury in Washington, D.C., that voted 97% for Kamala Harris, then you're right. It's dead on arrival. Nothing ever happens. It's just a show trial. You're exactly right. Then nothing ever happens. But if they're bringing it in Palm Beach, as John Solomon reported yesterday, if this is impaneled in Florida, then we are cooking, baby. All right, let's go ahead and watch John Solomon's reporting, and then we'll talk through some of the other breaking news. Again, all it is simply the production of material for a grand jury. All of these proceedings are locked and of the most secret of natures. Grand juries always are. This is the critical piece of information.
This is a major development. We told you last week that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, had given permission for a strike force to begin. That's a very specific tool the Justice Department uses on major conspiracies. And we told you then we would know it was getting serious when the grand jury jumped into action. We now know that a grand jury will be impaneled. Most likely, my sources are telling me it could be in Florida, where the raid of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home happened. So that is the very latest. You can check it out at Just News. We're going to have a whole lot more on that over the course of the next.
Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, can I do the massive cheer? I want to do the massive cheer. Can we not do massive cheer? Oh, did you mute it? Oh, Klein. Okay, we're going to do now the most massive cheer. No, it's the fact that you and I keep punching the button at the same time. We've got to work on a system here. We got to work on a system. I'm not going to punch it. You do it. I guess not. Well, we're gonna work on it, my friend. Okay. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. We need the massive cheer. We need the massive cheer. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting our sound effect. It's sound effects, sound design. It's very important in live production. We're gonna get it down. Speaking of going down, ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like this is all actually happening. Here we go. Let's read. Top line. The Justice Department is opening a federal grand jury investigation into former Obama administration officials who have allegedly conspired to whip up a scandal about President Trump. It's not allegedly. It did. You can see the documents. During the 2016 election campaign, the Post has learned the major legal development opens the door for criminal charges against prominent cabinet members like Clapper, Brennan, and Comey. It's not immediately clear whether the grand jury will be based heavily Democratic Washington, D.C. or elsewhere. You see, even the New York Post is writing right off the top. It is so critical as to where they charge this. Trump and current Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, have called for the federal probe into the early days of the Russia collusion probe, Crossfire Hurricane. Though the commander-in-chief himself has acknowledged that his predecessor will likely be immune from prosecution due to a 2024 Supreme Court ruling on the criminality of presidential acts. Yeah, but Barack Obama wasn't president when he continued this conspiracy. Jonathan Turley weighing in on Fox News about what kind of charges are being brought right now. Again, this is all in secret. Let's listen to some very wise people.
As I understand it, Professor, the grand jury could come back if they find sufficient evidence and probable cause with an indictment against as of yet unnamed individuals. Let's start with the charges. And you've been following this story for, well, about a decade. So what does the evidence point to? Like, what could be the charges coming out of a grand jury?
Well, Will, I think today about half the lawyers in the city went on retainer. About 40 minutes ago, you just lost about 50% of the bar in terms of client base. The reason is that there are a lot of people, a lot of powerful people in this town that have already been mentioned in some of these releases. The most at risk, the most exposed include people like John Brennan, who I've been writing a lot about. It's very hard to square his testimony before Congress with what was just released. And he and Clapper, who is also at risk here, just published an op-ed in the New York Times. If they didn't have counsel before, they should get it now, because I was astonished by that column. I was astonished the New York Times published it because it seems to me strikingly untrue. But they say that they didn't rely on the Steele dossier, which has been largely debunked, the one funded by the Clinton campaign. These documents indicate that Brennan may have personally intervened to guarantee that the dossier was part of this infamous assessment that occurred at the very end of the Obama administration. Now, Obama himself is likely in the clear because he has immunity due to the recent Supreme Court decision. He can thank Donald Trump for that. But the rest of them are exposed, and there's a very long list.
Including Hillary Clinton?
It can be Clinton. Now, the key to remember here is that even if the statute of limitations has run, these people are likely to be questioned again. So they can be subject to the trifecta of the most common charges, the ones the prosecutors love the most, which are things like obstruction, false statements to federal investigators, and perjury. The Obama administration used those quite widely, so did the special counsel. Those are likely to appear again now.
This is happening. I'm sorry, but you can troll me all you want in the comment section and say nothing ever happens, but listen, you can see him on our program. The best part about having a show like this is we actually have a physical record of the people who are doing this coming on these airwaves on this channel and telling you what they're about to do. Like, for instance, Tulsi Gabbard telling us that Hillary Clinton is a traitorous, seditious conspiracist. She said so on this program. We should all listen. Here we go. It was actually Hillary Clinton and the establishment at the FBI using foreign intelligence in a treasonous act against our own government. Am I getting that correctly?
You are, yes. And the interesting thing here is, again, I want to point back to the documents we released, because people can go and read for themselves. Go to odni.gov. There you can click through. You can read the documents for themselves. This is not my view or my opinion or my interpretation. Go and read the documents yourself. Look at the emails that were sent from James Clapper's assistant out to the intelligence community, communicating that this assessment will be created per the president's direction. Read the documents for yourself. And then you can see, as you go through the documents, how in the months leading up to the election, the intelligence community consistently assessed that Russia had neither the intent nor the capability to be able to influence or swing the election for Donald Trump. And that's a critical statement there, because in the assessment that President Obama ordered, and you'll again see in the documents with great detail how he wanted an assessment that delivered intelligence that details how Moscow tried to help Trump get elected. Not if, but how.
Ladies and gentlemen, the benefit that we have is we don't have to sit on the sidelines and speculate. The individuals who are actually making these decisions are coming on this program out of respect for you and out of respect for this audience and this chat right here and saying, we'll tell you the truth. Greg Jarrett on Fox News last night. He's an attorney. He's been a prosecutor, and he goes through the potential charges that may face the Obama cabal that hatched this scheme. Here we go.
To go to a grand jury, Sean, a federal prosecutor has to have enough evidence to establish probable cause that crimes were committed. So it does look like the attorney general believes she's already got it and has handed it off to a U.S. attorney. And I would say that Comey, Clapper, and Brennan are immediate targets for a myriad of false statements during their testimony, some of which I identified 6 years ago in the book Witch Hunt. But I think they're also developing a broader criminal conspiracy to target Trump based on defrauding the government, deprivation of rights, and obstruction of justice arising from an ongoing cover-up, which would extend the statute of limitations to the last overt acts of concealment. And that's still happening. Dozens, I think, could be charged as co-conspirators, people in the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton's campaign, intel agencies, lawyers, bad actors in the FBI. There were so many people, Sean, who peddled the Russia collusion hoax, who knew it was a lie, but they abused the levers of power to frame Trump and alter intelligence and suppress evidence. And conspiracy charges could extend to illegal acts against Trump after he left office. So wrongful prosecutions, the Mar-a-Lago raid, there might also be a grand jury convened in Florida. So multiple jurisdictions, multiple defendants. Comey, Clapper, and Brennan would probably invoke the fifth in front of a grand jury. But the people below them might do deals. And I think there are a cavalcade of whistleblowers willing to come forward now.
This is a proper RICO case. Now, we heard that from federal prosecutor Brett Tolman last week. Brett Tolman said, what you must do is you need to simply leverage one person to flip. If you get one person to flip on all of them, then you can prove they're all lying. You can trap everyone. The trap has been set. And we may get the final note on President Trump's oldest promise. President Trump has a very old promise, and it's his most famous promise. It was spoken to the American people and to Hillary Clinton's face on live TV. I would argue that in spite of everything that we've seen, even the assassination attempt, this may well be the single most famous moment in the history of President Trump. It's hard to think of something that tops it. It's up for debate, let's just say. All right? Debate it, please. Debate it out in the chat. Debate it out in the chat. We have the chat on screen right over here. Ding, 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 ding. And right here, ding, ding, ding. Okay? Whether you think this is Trump's most famous moment, arguable. But this is his oldest promise to the American people. That is inarguable. And it sounds like President Trump may be making good on this 10-year-old promise. Let's go.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
I didn't. Send it. Send it. Yes, thank you. Where were you when that happened? Where were you? Everyone remembers where they were. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a spectacular guest, something that we have been covering like a dog with a bone. We ain't going to let it go. What happened in Cincinnati. We're going to prove our cultural power. We're going to prove that the era of BLM, the era of being able to simply attack Americans in the street and get away with it and leave them for dead is over. The only place that actually exists anymore are crime-ridden hellscapes run by Democrats, and there's one man in Ohio that is seeking to change that. He also is the half-brother of the great J.D. Vance, of course, an Ohio native and beloved in that state. Corey Bowman, Cincinnati mayoral candidate, joins the show live right now. Corey, it's an honor to have you on the program.
Hey, it's an honor to be here, Benny. Thank you so much for having us. Okay,
so talk to me about Cincinnati. I don't spend much time there, but based on all of the available evidence, it seems to be just a state of absolute collapse. Crime is skyrocketing. Things have spiraled out of control. And of course, the way that they've handled the what I call assassination attempts, the attempted murder of these individuals in the streets of their city has been abysmal.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to thank you for your coverage on this issue. You know, just over a week ago, we saw a viral video of an attack that was happening in downtown Cincinnati. And I believe that, you know, when Holly came forward and this GoFundMe that happened, what were we at, over 300,000, I believe, for the fundraiser?
Close to 500,000.
That's incredible, incredible. And it's something that is a statement not only nationally, but this is something locally that we care deeply about. You know, for those of in the nation that saw this video, they watched it with shock and horror. And for the people that live in Cincinnati, I can't emphasize this enough. This was just a continuation of crime that we've seen in this downtown area. And that's why we're running this race for mayor of Cincinnati. It's never about political aspirations. This was about, you know what, we see a major need in this downtown area in America, in a city that we love, to be able to make change. And that's what's happening with the momentum that's behind it.
So tell me about your candidacy. What would you do to fix Cincinnati?
Yeah, so when we first started, there's three key issues that people are concerned about in city politics. It's crime, it's infrastructure, and it's spending the money properly. And we knew as the year was going on that once the summer months hit and the way that the city was run administratively from our city manager's office down, that the crime was just going to be even it's going to increase over the summer months because of how it was run. You can see that in the winter months with snow, with rain, people not out on the streets, but the way that it was managed, how prosecutors and judges were having an open door policy, they were basically catch and release criminals right on our streets. We just knew that this was a summer that was going to be very hard for people downtown. And so when we're running this race, I've been talking with cops nonstop. We've been talking with, actually, we co-own a coffee shop in the downtown. And once word got out that there's somebody running for public office that actually cares about these cops, they were flooding in and I didn't try to convince them to vote for me. I just simply asked, what are the things that we can do to fix these problems? And it starts at the top. We call it trickle down incompetence, from the city manager appointing the police chief and then going right down to the administrative aspects of the police department. Our police officers' hands are being tied, and they're actually afraid to do their jobs on the streets for, lack of better terms, they were going to become a viral moment and their lives would be ruined. Or if they actually do go out and try to do their job, that the laws that they're told to enforce, they're actually not able to do it to the fullest extent of the law. And then I've had many officers that have come in my shop and they've said they don't even see a point in making arrests because there's many times where they make these arrests and the next week, these criminals that they know need to have harsher sentences, that they're released right back on the street.
So you have a pretty powerful brother-in-law who spoke up about this, to his great credit. Is J.D. Vance still focused on Hawley's story, or does he know about the fundraiser, and will he be engaging in any way, meaningful way, in the fixing of Cincinnati?
Yeah, well, I will tell you this, that Cincinnati is very near and dear to JD's heart. And he made comments recently that he believes that the criminals that are on these streets, that they deserve to be in jail. And so I believe that this is a collaborative effort of many people in Ohio. You're seeing it with Bernie Moreno, you're seeing it with Vivek Ramaswamy, you're seeing it with JD, and that it's not some, organized plant that we're just going to take over the city. This is the result of poor management in the city, and many people that care about our city are coming on board. And I made the statement last night. We were at a town hall with Vivek, and I said that the thing is about city politics is that they try to make it about national issues. They're always trying to push their own agendas, their own political careers. There was actually a resolution from City Hall recently that called for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. But the reality of it is that we need a ceasefire for our city streets right now. Yes. And so many of these politicians, they are coming in with their own agendas, but we're running this campaign on clean streets, safe streets, and prosperous streets. That's what city government and local government needs to be at the forefront of their agendas, not whatever the future holds for their political careers.
Yes, and it's grotesque to watch city council members, for instance, celebrating this. And then not backing down, by the way. This wasn't Victoria Parks, never heard of her, but Victoria Parks is a member of the city council, and she's sitting there saying that they deserved this beat down. The mayor brought out a pastor saying that it should have been the people who were beat within an inch of their lives. They should have gotten the mugshot. There was no ambulance available, so they had to take an Uber to the hospital while bleeding out, brain hemorrhaging. And this is like a city in collapse, man. I just don't know how you don't charge that. I mean, this seems like incitement, right, from Victoria Parks. This like you wouldn't ever be allowed. Nobody should be able to hold office and say something like that. It's grotesque.
Yeah, well, in your segments before this, we're talking about how there's corruption at the highest levels that we're weeding out of our government. Well, downtown cities in America are not exempt from that. There is corruption. There is a mentality and a culture in city halls all across American cities that are not putting at the forefront law and order. They're not putting at the forefront properly managing their streets. They're putting at the forefront their agendas of a lot of it has to do with cop-hating agendas, things that are holding the cops back from doing their jobs because they're afraid of the people that they're supposed to be, supported by. And we've heard that from the police officers themselves. This isn't something that we're trying to repeat for a political campaign. This is something that we've heard from people on the streets. The residents are tired of hearing the gunshots every night, and the cops are tired of their hands being tied. They want to do their jobs because they want to protect and serve the city that they love. And then we're talking about practical solutions here. That night that video went viral, we have an emergency communications center. And the chief actually said that there was only one phone call to 911 that night. And when they released it, I knew that it was a lie because there was a male on the street and the sirens actually you can hear at the end of the call showing up. I have a screenshot of a lady that approached me. She lives off of 4th Street, and she said that she moved from California to be here, and she was told that it was a safe financial district. For anybody that doesn't know Cincinnati, the area where this fight happened is considered a safe and secure financial district. And many people are living on that street that are paying very high rent, or they've bought condos there because they believe that it's a safe area. And they've reached out to me personally and said that the crime has gone up and up and up. It's progressively gotten worse and worse. And then that night, this lady, 3 minutes before the other call, made a call to the call center, and they said that the call taker was very rude and dismissive. Well, it just so happens that our communications center isn't operated by the police department. It's operated by the city. And then they have the discretion of knowing whether they want to dispatch officers, they want to dispatch community involvement, whatever they see fit. And these are major problems that are happening in our city.
Just want to get your final take on what was our breaking off the top news of the day that was, I'm a huge Major League fan. I love some of Charlie Sheen's comedy work. And to see Charlie Sheen engaging in the fundraiser that we've worked on with Holly was really special. Not only did he donate generously, but also he commented publicly about it and saying that he loves Cincinnati, that he's a Reds fan, that he loves Ohio, and he wants to fix the state. What's your message to Charlie Sheen?
My message, first and foremost, is thank you so much. I'm a big fan of Major League and all those previous movies as well. But as a Cincinnatian, I'm saying thank you, because there's many people that feel like they cannot voice their concern about this because they don't want to be, taken apart by the viral mob of, social media. But what this attention is doing, and I would encourage everybody to like and share any of these broadcasts or any of these stories that are coming out, bring the national attention to what's happening, because this isn't just happening in Cincinnati. It's happening in every other blue run major city in America, and this has to stop. So my message to Charlie Sheen is thank you so much. And anybody else that was thinking about not voicing it because they were afraid, I would say make your voices loud and clear that these policies have to stop.
If you wouldn't mind, share the fundraiser with your brother-in-law and say, hey, we're going to close it down pretty soon, and we're going to be interviewing Holly today, and we're going to get Holly's story officially out there. And so it'd be great to have, I know JD came in over the top, but it'd be great to have JD come down strong on this one. We appreciate you, Corey, for being with us. The fundraiser, since you've been talking with us, Corey, has gone up by $10,000. And so this is the power of this audience and the power of the American people who wish to do, well, good in the face of evil and wish to right a wrong and prove what kind of country we actually live in. Corey Bowman is out fighting for the city of Cincinnati. There it is right there in his cover image. Here he is on X. And yes, you're right, Corey. God is good. It's an honor to have you on the program.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Benny. And congratulations, belated congratulations on your child that was born in January. 6 months now, right?
That's right. Born on Inauguration Day, our golden baby.
Yeah, we just had ours. It's 4 weeks old now.
Whoa, my goodness. All right. Next time, bring photos. I demand photos. I demand baby photos. Yes, this is exactly how we save the country. Yes, thank you, Corey. Godspeed, man.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so really quick here, some programming notes. We're going to be on Chris Cuomo's podcast right after the show. We're going to be talking to Chris Cuomo about how we can unite and make the country a better place. It's going to be very interesting. We're also going to be doing a interview with Holly today, and that's on top of a lot of travel this week. And let's just say this. I work at a standing desk. My dogs are barking by the end of the day when I get home to see my family, when I get home to see my kids. What I do is I jump into my Cozy Earth's pants. I get comfortable. I get off my feet. I'm trying not to have a heart attack, all right? And so when I get home, I want to chill. I want to chill with my family. I want to chill with my kids. Klein will tell you I'm locked in and out the door. I will not miss. Sometimes it's too bad, when you have kids that go to bed at 8 o'clock. Sometimes you only get an hour or 2 hours with them per day after work. And so I want to lock it in. Ladies and gentlemen, I come home, I get on these very, very comfortable pants. I chill out and I hang with my family. This is what I do. And Cozy Earth is the brand that the Johnson household trusts, not just for the everywhere pant, but also for our bamboo sheets, temperature regulating, guaranteed to give you a comfortable night's sleep. It is very hot here in Tampa. These are made from bamboo. They naturally wick away the moisture from your body and keep you a couple degrees cooler. It's a good deal for me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly how I want to live. Comfortable and chill. So go to Cozy Earth and use my code Benny for 40% off the softest bedding, bath, and apparel. And if you get a post-purchase survey, tell them that you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Cozy Earth is built for real life, made to keep up with yours. Cozy Earth. They definitely help us chill at the end of news cycles where we need it the very most. All right, ladies and gentlemen, very fascinating series of news stories. Will our friend and somebody who we've known for a little while and who we've worked with become the next president of the Federal Reserve? Boy, things are moving quickly. This morning, you wake up with a bunch of messages from Charlie Sheen and then James Fishbach. Will he become the next Federal Reserve Board of Governors appointee by President Trump? I'm not sure. That's all the rumor that is going on right now. James Fishbach has been a one-man wrecking crew against Jerome Powell, and he joins the show live right now in order to let us know the news. Let's go. All right, James. What's the deal here? What's happening? it's like life comes at you fast, sort of moment. What's going on with the Fed?
What's going on with the Fed is Jerome Powell's too late. I traded interest rate derivatives and government bonds at two different hedge funds for 10 years. The Federal Reserve would call me every couple of weeks as I was a trader. They'd want to know what traders were thinking, what the market expectation was. Benny, has the Federal Reserve ever called you? They ever called Kate? They ever call any of your viewers? No, they don't care about us. They're living in their weird little echo chamber and their weird little board meetings and their $3 billion extravagant building that cost the price of 2 NFL stadiums. Yeah. And they're all suffering with a very severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. And what they're doing is they're deliberately using high interest rates to undermine our duly elected president and his economic agenda. Somebody has to call it out. I've been honored to be one of those people, along with patriots like Bill Pulte, to really bring substantive economic analysis to this conversation. And the president is dead right when he says that Jerome Powell is doing the wrong thing, and a lot of people are suffering because of it.
Okay, so let's jump into the rumors here. I have up your X account, and everybody needs to follow James on X. If asked, I would be honored to serve President Trump and our nation on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Now, there's a couple of openings now on this Board of Governors. Is this a real, I assume since it's on your X account and it's from you, is this a real threat, James?
If the president were to ask me, I would be honored to serve him and to serve our nation. And to do so in a temporary role, Benny. Last week, there was a Biden appointee who resigned in disgrace Friday afternoon. No one saw this coming. And that creates a short-term vacancy on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors that would end in January. So if the president asked me, I'd be honored to step in for the next 5 to 6 months. Let's doge the Fed. Let's go into that meeting amongst a group of largely Trump haters and bring some real substantive analysis to defend and articulate the president's economic agenda so they understand why they need to lower interest rates. And if necessary, I'll dissent. I will dissent at my first meeting if given the opportunity and immediately vote to cut rates by a full percentage point. Because what Jerome Powell and his Fed board have done is not just economically illiterate, it is deeply, deeply un-American.
Yeah, it's very hard. We have a young audience, and I get a message every hour from a young man or a young woman saying that it is impossible to buy a house, that it's impossible to get life started. James, they can't start families in one-room rented apartments. You can't do that. It's not contiguous or harmonious with family life and the creation of more Americans and a strong American future. The destruction of the ability for young people to buy homes, to get started in the economy, has perhaps been one of the most damaging things to happen in my lifetime.
That's exactly right. And your audience is a young one. And so you feel this particularly well. And just to put some numbers on it, Benny, there are 363,000 fewer Americans getting mortgages every quarter than just a couple years ago under President Trump's first term. You can lay the blame right at the feet of Jerome Powell because the interest rates he sets influences every single mortgage in America. And the hard truth is that if you can't afford a mortgage, you can't afford a home. If you can't afford a home, you can't afford to grow or heck, even start your family. And you're denying upwards of 1 million people every single year the dignity and respect of finding that God-fearing partner, buying dirt, settling down, and growing that family that all of us want to be able to do. Look, voters did our part by electing President Trump. President Trump did his part by passing the big, beautiful bill, by closing the border, by speeding up this mass deportation campaign to put American workers first. But at the end of the day, Jerome Powell has to do his part. We're not asking him to do anything that's not justified by the economic facts and data. Look at the data, Jerome. Look at the fact that under President Trump, inflation is 1.8% annualized, 5 better than expected, lower than expected inflation readings. And it's time to bring rates off of 20-year highs. It's the right thing to do for your country.
So you have the right ideas, James, and you have obviously the right motivation. Have you spoken to President Trump about joining the Federal Reserve Board?
Benny, I did speak with the president yesterday afternoon on a phone call, and I have deep respect. I told him I have deep respect for his economic agenda and what he's been able to accomplish. I know that the president will make the right decision. Whomever he picks for this role will have the awesome responsibility of defending and articulating that vision on a board of governors, not a single one of whom likely voted for the president. And so it's important that the president and his team, I think, are looking on building that agenda, because at the end of the day, we have an incredible story going on right now with this golden age. You've seen the numbers, you've seen the new investments. You haven't just looked at, by the way, at the economic data that is the unemployment rate, but if you actually pop open the hood, as you've done, Benny, you have to look at native-born workers versus foreign-born workers. When you have 653,000 foreign-born workers losing jobs last month, which is what exactly happened, Benny, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We want job loss for those who are here illegally, and we want job gains for those who have called America home. And this president is delivering on every economic front imaginable. And if asked, I would be honored to serve him in our nation.
I think part of the problem with the Fed is that so much of what they do is shrouded in mystery and alchemy and economic wizardry that makes no sense. The average American man or woman who is working. So would you please, in very clear terms, lay out what would you bring to the Fed board, James?
Gosh, I would bring, I think, 2 things, Benny. The first of which is I would bring 10 years of trading government bonds and interest rate derivatives at 2 different hedge funds on Wall Street. I have followed the Fed for better or worse for the past decade. Every speech, every research paper, every press conference I've watched, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. When you're running a multi-billion-dollar derivatives book, you have to very closely build out models and follow what they're doing. So I've been on their case for a decade now. My economic analysis says that rates are at least 3 percentage points too high, that they're holding back economic growth, nominal GDP growth, wage growth, mortgage origination. They're holding back President Trump's golden era. That's why we got to bring rates down. The second is, if given this awesome, and I say it because it's truly full of awe, this awesome opportunity, I would go meet directly with business owners. I'd go meet directly with retirees, with workers, with many of your viewers who are struggling to afford a home, to better understand their circumstances, because they need a voice. There is not a Fed governor right now who represents the southern part of the United States, the South, of course, as we call it, Benny. That's 35 million voters who elected this president. They deserve to have a seat and a voice and a champion at the table. And if the president thinks that's me, I'd be honored to serve him and our great nation.
Well, I hope you don't take this as an insult. I hope you take it as the compliment that I intend it. But James lives in the redneck Riviera. He lives in the Panhandle, middle of absolute nowhere, Florida, the sticks. He'd be our first redneck hillbilly Fed board member. And I think that'd be a good thing, actually. That's the direction the country's moving. We may well have our hillbilly elegy president in a couple of years. And so why not, James? Why not?
It would be an honor. And everyone deserves a seat at the table. Every American deserves the dignity of knowing that their voice, their story, their struggles and their successes are represented in the Federal Reserve. We know that President Trump represents them because he goes and meets with them. Jerome Powell meets with 400 PhD economists to talk about systemic racism and blaming white people for the housing crisis. No, the housing crisis is responsible. The responsibility lies, Benny, at the hands of Jerome Powell's artificially high interest rates and private equity companies like Blackstone using Chinese blood money, going into our communities, buying our homes from under our feet, and denying Americans the ability to purchase a home, which is really the precondition of the American dream.
I would be remiss if I didn't show you a video of President Trump trolling to his face Jerome Powell, and one of the single most hysterical things I've ever seen Donald Trump do. And there's a long list, and it's a very high bar. But Donald Trump pulling out the receipts on Jerome Powell here, it was just special. And I know everyone's already seen the clip, but it's comedy gold. It's like straight out of The Office. It's like a sketch. It's like it could be Michael Scott. And I want to get your response to this, because for the first time ever, Jerome just seemed flat-footed, perturbed, angry. You can see it here. You can see. It's amazing. What was your take when you first saw this?
My take is that President Trump has had a far better track record on the economy and the setting of interest rates than Jerome Powell ever could. This is the same President, Benny, that in 2018 told Jerome Powell to his face, interest rates are way too high. Jerome Powell took 18 months and finally heeded that advice. President Trump, as a business owner, as the president, he talks with farmers, retirees, the unemployed, business owners, all sorts of people. He has his finger on the pulse in a way that an overrated private equity executive named Jerome Too Late Powell never could in the marble building that is the Federal Reserve Eccles complex. And so my advice to Jerome Powell is, you and I are fellow Americans. I respect you. I respect your contributions to the country, but it's time to do the right thing. If Jerome Powell would just walk the streets of DC, walk the streets of Tampa, walk the streets of where I live right now in Madison, Florida, and talk to folks and get an understanding of where we are and why we voted for President Trump. And whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you live in rural America or urban America, you deserve a Fed chair that is out in the open and a board of governors that is as transparent, honest, blunt, direct, and plugged in as our president is. And I know President Trump is going to make that decision and make the right one, because it has been 6 months of nonstop winning, Benny. I saw you this past weekend, and I know that neither you nor I are sick of winning. We want the president to keep delivering, and he absolutely will.
The Empire State Building is arguably the most famous skyscraper in the world, and it cost $600 million, adjusted for inflation, by the way,
right,
to build. And so what the Fed's doing to their crappy building is worth 4-5 Empire State Buildings. It's crazy, man. I mean, this is insanity.
It's insanity, and it was built from the ground up, the Empire State Building, or the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, right, in 2020 that cost $1.9 billion. This cost $3 billion. Bill Pulte, by the way, has been front and center. He is a construction guy. He knows the home building business. He looked at this and it smelled rotten from the start, and he brought it to the president's agenda. I'm grateful for him and James Blair and Russ Vogt for going to that building and speaking truth. The fact of the matter is, if you can't manage a construction project and if you can't be honest about those cost overruns, you have no business telling Americans, no, you can't get a mortgage. No, you can't marry that God-fearing woman. No, you can't start a family because we won't give you a mortgage as a result. And so Jerome Powell really just has to do the right thing here. That's look at the data. Look at the data. Everyone says in the media, well, the president wants Jerome Powell to lower rates. No, the president wants Jerome Powell to look at the economic facts. The fact that the president has essentially defeated inflation in his 6 months in office. Look at that fact, Jerome Powell, and lower interest rates. Benny, in 2022, in December, interest rates were at the same level as they are today, 4.5%. But in December 2022, inflation was 6.5%. Today, under Trump's leadership, it is 1.8. In what world, in what freshman high school economics class you would get flunked from class if you argue that the same level of interest rates that was justified for 6.5% inflation was also the same exact level today for inflation that's 1.8%? Jerome Powell, get off your anti-Trump high horse. Look at the data, lower rates, deliver relief, save the government billions, $350 billion, Benny, the president has said, and he's dead right, when you lower rates by a full point. We're going to save the country upwards of $4 trillion over the next decade. If Jerome Powell can get off his high horse, look at the truth, look at the facts, and lower interest rates as the president has rightly called for.
This is, for whatever it means, for whatever it's worth, this is our humble endorsement of James Fishbach for the Federal Reserve Board. You should endorse James by going over and following him on X. He is a spectacular CEO. He has his own fund. He has his own ETF. Azoria is a spectacular financial institution. And James is just one of those guys who's building great things. Go follow him. Let's get James's numbers up to 100K today. Can we? We'll do it. Godspeed, James. See you at the Fed. Hope you shut down their construction project.
Thank you, Benny. And thank you for everything you are doing and your team is doing for Holly. For Holly, because she deserves it, and no American deserves to go through what she went through.
You know, it's
that
pretty
was mob violence.
It's why having a lower IQ is actually advantageous in moments like this, because you can just see the simple binary. You can just see that the decision becomes easy, right? In moments like that. Oh yeah, okay, let's just go and put our shoulder to the wheel and do everything we possibly can to help this poor individual. There's no layering, right? There's no like, oh, well, what about this very complicated equation? No, it's just some lady was cold clocked by a mob and left for dead. Right. Like, we're going to help her. That's America. Damn it. And it becomes a very easy binary for guys like us. So good. Same with James, ladies and gentlemen. Follow him. There's his account. See you, bro.
Thanks, Benny. Appreciate it. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, James is one of those financial guys. I'm not. Okay? I'm not saying you shouldn't take my advice because, well, I do practice attempting to save and create for my family. That obviously every good man does, right? The old rainy day fund. But there are individuals like James and institutions like Allio Capital, an app that helps me invest every single day, because you're probably like me, where you don't do this on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour, second-by-second basis. So Allio Capital keeps us invested, keeps our stocks growing, keeps our accounts moving. They're very deft because they use Altitude AI in order to shift inflation, interest rates, global risk, all of the things that move the markets. President Trump was on CNBC this morning, and he was talking about banks. He was talking about specific banks that debanked conservatives. And the stocks of those banks cratered as Trump was talking. These things change, and they can change on a dime. Pardon the pun. Ladies and gentlemen, Allio Capital is who I invest with, and they manage my money excellently. Download their app in the App Store, Google Play. Text my name, Benny, to 511-511, ALLIO Capital. It's Benny to 511-511. Download the Allio app and text Benny to 511-511 today. Investing does involve risk, and including the potential loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee results. Consult with your financial professional before making any financial decisions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've made a decision to bring on a member of Congress from Texas. That would be 2 gun-slinging members of Congress on this program. Off the top with Paulina Luna, and live now with Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne. Joining the show live now. Let's rock and roll. Congresswoman, there's so much breaking news out today. We just appreciate your patience. And some of this breaking news comes from Congress, the subpoenaing of Bill, Hillary Clinton, and so many other individuals who had something to do with the Jeffrey Epstein scandal and or cover up. I wanted to get your thoughts on that off the top.
Look, I think Comer's doing the right thing. The Oversight Committee is doing its job. They're looking at, people who have been in the shadows for a very long time, who have been allowed not to be investigated because, people that have had influence with them, or they have had, they've had their influence. And it's about time that this is uncovered. Transparency is going to be the best thing. But these are people who have no, friendliness with our country, who have continuously undermined our representative democracy, and they need to be uncovered. And I'm just really glad that Comer and that committee are doing its job.
Yes, you're from the state of Texas. There's a lot of undermining of democracy, to use your words, happening right now in that state. I'm sure you perhaps even know some of the individuals who flew off in the dark of night on their private jets, $47 million jets, very nice jet, the I-770J. And it costs about $17,000 per hour to operate. That's a pretty penny. So flying to Chicago would be like a $100,000 trip. Who's paying for this? Is there some criminality that's ongoing right now with these Democrats fleeing the state of Texas?
That's a great question. That's an absolutely great question. I think that's one of the things that Governor Abbott's trying to get down to, because if they're receiving money for these private planes, for their hotels, they are due to be fined $500 a day for not showing up to do their job and for stopping, the work that the state of Texas has to do, which, by the way, also includes helping those flood victims that we saw down in Kerrville not that long ago. And they're not even here to do that work. But are they accepting money improperly? And could that be considered bribery? And these are things I think that the governor is trying to get down to. But the fact is, get back to work. You sit here and you complain that you're not, your constituents don't have a voice, and then you're like, see ya, we're going to be gone. They're not going to be around for a vote. They're not going to be around to actually submit their opinions, to say anything. And I look back at my first 2 years in Congress under Nancy Pelosi and under majority of Democrat rule. It was painful. But I always showed up for work. I entered the debate. I cast my vote. And that is exactly what they get paid for. That's what they promised. They took an oath to their constituents that they would do. And instead, what they're doing is they're fleeing to blue states, to sanctuary cities, places that are making excuses and covering up and protecting illegal aliens because they rely on them to repopulate their congressional districts. Without the 20 million or so illegal aliens who've come over aboard in the last 4 years, some of these congressional members may not be there. Some of these states would have lost congressional districts. So it's horrendous what they're doing. They're not representing their constituents, and they need to get their tushes back to work.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be, dare I call it a seditious conspiracy or an insurrection in order to stop?
Be careful.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what you're doing. And I don't really understand this concept of fighting. That's what I don't get. We're fighting. Well, how are you fighting by fleeing? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. There are a lot of trifectas in the country where you have Democrats in control. I've never seen Republicans flee. What a strange thing.
And this is, by the way, they've done this numerous times, 4 or 5 times. They've already done this. And every single time, all they're doing is delaying the action. They ultimately come back. They do this to get social media hits and, their name out there and in the news. But at the end of the day, all they are doing is delaying. And what they're doing right now is actually delaying help that needs to go to these victims of these massive floods.
Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't agree more. And it's something that we didn't get a chance to cover with the Attorney General yesterday, who's on the program. But the governor has spoken out about this, how the Democrats of the state house in Texas fleeing the state has now blocked the assistance for flood victims in Texas, which I believe there are 140, is that correct? Deaths in this horrible flooding?
Yeah. those are just the deaths. I mean, you're not even looking at the people who are harmed, the people who had property damage, these communities that are desperate to try to get back to some sort of normal. And that's what they're blocking right now. And they're not doing their job. But, you know, you start looking at around the country, some of these other governors who are threatening that they're going to come back because Texas is, they're all up in arms that Texas is doing the wrong thing. You know, Governor Newsom in California, which, by the way, 40% of the statewide vote in California, believe it or not, is Democrat. And yet only out of that 52 seats in California, there's only 9 Republicans. You look at New York, it's very similar numbers. You look at Massachusetts, by the way, 35 to 40% of the statewide vote is Republicans. You know how many congressional seats Republicans hold in the state of Massachusetts? 0. Yeah, exactly. You look at Pritzker in Illinois and how they have completely gerrymandered, you know, as many Democrat seats as they have. You add that to the fact that the Census Bureau has already admitted that they overcounted in states like California and Northeast states, and they undercounted populations in states like Texas. So this is righting a wrong that was committed, 4 or 5 years ago. It's righting that wrong, but it's also playing by the Democrats' rulebook. If you don't like it, then don't do it. But they have done it, and then once they've done it, now they're pulling up, the ladder, saying, no, you can't do that. Republicans have an opportunity right now to maintain the majority, and we've got to do that, because if we don't, I've already seen some of my radical Democrat colleagues who have threatened that they're going to defund ICE, and that the entire focus of Trump's last 2 years in office is going to be impeachment. I don't think anybody wants that. We're looking at the economy. We're looking at what's happening around the world, some of these global imbalances. We're looking at potential huge trade wins, investments in this country, and we need to be focused on that. Not impeachment, and not on reopening our borders.
I do find it just bloody ironic that this map right there, this is where they fled to. They fled to the single most gerrymandered state in America. And I've looked at a lot of maps. I mean, Maryland has them. Maryland's up there, but there's nothing like Illinois. Do they have any PR people to say maybe let's not flee to the single most gerrymandered place in the country?
No, look, this is Democrat playbook. They're going to go where they think that they can get the most PR, and it's going to be in Illinois, California, and New York, and that's exactly where they're going. But if they look at what has happened in those states, again, you'll find that they've been gerrymandered, that they do not represent the same percentage of Republicans that actually come out and that they have in their state, and they come out and vote statewide, and then a lot of those seats they've got because they're counting illegal immigrants. Which, we have a number of bills right now to try to take care of that, so that we don't see that in the next presidential election.
Yeah, Congresswoman, I can't help myself. This is where the Democrats in Texas are staying. This is the exact county, actually. This is the exact congressional district right here, right there. That's what it looks like. That's what they're currently staying there to fight gerrymandering. That's a congressional district.
The irony, right?
Yeah,
the irony. The hypocrisy, but they don't recognize it. And I've been watching Fox, I've been watching CNN, MSNBC, a lot of these podcasts, and it's incredible just the difference in coverage. MSNBC, CNN are acting like this has never been done before. This is the first time Texas is trying to do this. No. We're playing by the Democrats' playbook, and they're frustrated.
Thank you.
Because even though they have been allowed to gerrymander these districts and, for Democrat control, even though they've been allowed to count illegal immigrants as part of their population, even though this has been going on for years, the American people still voted Donald J. Trump into office. They still have a majority of Republicans, even after all this foolish play. They have a majority of Republicans right now in Congress who are sticking up for them, who have been able to pass things like that one big, beautiful bill that is focused on American energy independence, controlling our border, decreasing regulations, decreasing taxes, focused on our trade missions. This is what America voted for, and it's frustrating to Democrats who have completely lost their way. Get a better message, come on board, start working for your constituents again. Quit with the vacations on, planes that other people paying for your hotels. Get back to work.
So I have to ask a little personal question here. You're from Dallas. You represent sort of greater Dallas area, and your district actually comes butting right up against Jasmine Crockett's district. Jasmine Crockett's been on a bit of a tear these days. She's having what the younger kids on TikTok are calling a crash out, as she's shrieking and screaming and calling President Trump, sorry, her words, not mine, a piece of shit, Hitler, and an orange orangutan. So she's not doing well. She also says that the new map will potentially make her district competitive. It went for Kamala Harris by, I think, 30 points. And so since you are definitely in the neighborhood, maybe your take on Jasmine.
Oh, bless her heart. You know, this Jasmine Crockett, this is kind of a cartoon creation, I think, you know, just for social media, for hits, and for the Democrats to be able to say, oh, yes, this is what we stand for. Keep going, Jasmine. You know, back when you were working for Eddie Bernice Johnson, this was not who you were. You created this. And the swearing, the shaking of the head, it's theater. It's political theater, but it seems to be working. And I think it seems to be working for Republicans. This kind of craziness, nastiness, lack of self-awareness is exactly what the Democrats are supporting. They're getting behind, and it's exactly why Republicans are going to win in the midterm.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We're going to be doing a deep dive. We did one for AOC, figure out who is AOC? Where does she actually come from? She's not a girl from the Bronx, and we're going to do that with Jasmine Crockett, actually. So
well, I think the Atlantic already did it, and she was very upset with their reporting, right? And that was a friendly outlet that she was upset with. So I wish you all the best of luck. There's a lot of information out there. I shared the stage with her last year at the Dallas Regional Chamber. Know your audience. There were 4 of us up on stage, and Mark Vesey and Keith Self were the other 2, which I think they would have preferred to have been in any other building in the country than where they were the 2 of us on stage. And we're going to be on stage, I believe, again next week. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. I tend to be more policy oriented, more professional and talking about the policies that are important to Texas. I don't need to get off on some of the stuff that she seems to think is necessary to be able to throw out crazy statements. Oh, look at you. You already have that picture up.
We're the best. We got the best production team.
Yeah.
We move at the speed of the internet. We move at the speed of news. So, so we'll just, why not real quickly? Could you please unpack that? Did she go berserker mode like she normally does? Did she just embarrass herself?
It was a complete Trump derangement syndrome. She was going against everything that we're trying to do to protect the border, bringing up how, them taxing and spending was really good for the economy, how nothing that the Democrats did over the last 4 years contributed to inflation, just was completely out of her mind. And it's a business group. And the last thing that they want to hear is their taxes are being used to support illegal immigration, illegal aliens that are here, and that they're not taking any kind of accountability for the waste, fraud, and abuse of government systems. If she listened to her constituents when she's home for recess and she had business roundtables like I did just yesterday, she would hear that one of the things, the biggest complaint right now is the over-regulation. And yet what she's pushing for is more regulation. She wants the government completely to have control over your business, over your personal life, over everything. They want people dependent on the government to be able to pay them, just to be able to survive. This is the Republican, this is the Democrat Party, folks, and this is your leader.
So I'm very excited about our little Jasmine Crockett expose. And we'll definitely connect with your office and see if there's anything that we're missing. But
I am happy to keep talking about it anytime you want. Yeah.
They're frauds, right? So what's interesting is people are like, well, President Trump, he's a billionaire. Well, yeah, he's proud of that. He did it. He earned it. He built it. Like at the very least, Trump and so many on the right, not all, but so many on the right are just like who they are. And that's it. Roast me. Okay, well, whatever. At least I'm not like a fraudulent theater kid who's performing like in some type of creepy vaudevillian, like thespian act that I'm from the Bronx, or like that I'm something I'm not. And I think at the core of it is self-loathing and a deep insecurity. And that's why they have to put on these accents and these dances and these acts, and it's very sad and it's cringe, and it deserves to be called out. And Jasmine Crockett is probably the worst offender for code switching.
Off, right? Yeah. I mean, they do all the sorts of fundraising on it. They get all sorts of media hits on it. Yeah. Her name as a freshman member has already been floated as the next presidential candidate, right? And how do they do that? By being outrageous. But what they don't do is pass policy. What they don't do is represent their constituents. Texas is at a loss with her in that representative role, and it's too bad. I was able to work with Eddie Bernice Johnson on a number of transportation issues when I was mayor. And I think she would be rolling over in her grave right now to see what's happened to her former district director.
Yeah. A lot of crime, too, in her district. Speaking of rolling over in the grave, it's a tough place to represent, and we're going to go expose it, actually, this week. And so we appreciate you, Congresswoman, and we also appreciate your work on the Ways and Means, Small Business Committee, and Republican Study Committee. We were just there with at the Republican Study Social Media Day in Congress, and it was an absolute.
I just missed you. Yeah, so, I think we get to go talk to our Speaker Johnson, so I just missed you. But I'm glad you're there. I'm glad people are highlighting the work that we're doing. I'm the head of the RC Budget Committee, and so we're trying to put together a balanced budget and getting as much information as we possibly can to do that, because I know that that's what the American people want. And that's what they deserve.
Say your prayers for Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne putting together balanced budgets. Ooh, baby, we'll see. And this is the Congresswoman's social media account. This is her X account, and you can follow her there. 30,000 Americans already do. Making Dallas great again. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, some scorching hot takes from Jasmine Crockett. I don't like swearing on the show. But when you're quoting her, you're going to have to do it, right? Yeah, scorching hot takes. Tell you what. My face gets scorching hot if I do the sauna. I do like doing saunas, but I found a much better alternative in the Boncharge infrared sauna blanket. I use it every single night. It's a nice little face mask that I put on, and it's good for your skin. It makes you feel euphoric, and it's good to chill out. I'll tell you what, we have we go rip roaring. We go at 100 miles an hour, and it's nice to make sure that you are, able to detox at the end of the day, let's just say, from this insane news cycle. It works by using infrared light that heats the body directly rather than the air around you like a traditional sauna. This means that you get the same benefits but lower the heat. Infrared heat can also help increase endorphins, which leave you feeling euphoric after your session. It's easy to set up, and it heats up rapidly, and it's got the highest temperatures compared to other brands. After using the infrared sauna blanket that Boncharge sent me, I feel just fantastic. Relaxed and revitalized and ready to go right to bed, actually. I sleep like a baby. And there's a lot of babies in the household, so yeah, it's an important thing. Boncharge ships worldwide. All products are HSA and FSA eligible for pre-tax savings of up to 40%. So get going today. 12-month warranty. You can't go wrong. Go to boncharge.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny to save 15%. BONCHARGE.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny to save 15%. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. They're not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any preventable disease. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the cure for you, which is these hysterical videos of President Trump just wandering around on the roof of the White House. What is going on? I don't actually know. My producer sent them in, and it was happening live during one of the 4 interviews that we did today on the show. Here's Donald Trump, just like shouting at reporters in Washington, D.C.
Hi, sir.
What does that mean?
What do you...
Donald Trump, if you are familiar with the way that the White House is oriented, Donald Trump is on top of where the press asks questions in the press pool, it's called, because it used to literally be a pool. So this would be the West Wing, and President Trump is presumably adding, so you can see here, there's the doorway. Through those windows is the windows that light Caroline Leavitt when she's giving a press conference. So right there is the press pool. That's the physical room, and that's what Trump is standing on top of. So Trump may well be potentially creating something new up top there, maybe adding a second story. Sounds like it. And he says he would pay for it himself and that he doesn't take a salary. So some big news there from President Trump. Live on top of the White House, Donald Trump just goes walking around asking and answering questions. This is great. Yeah, I love it. This is great. This new Trump meme just dropped. What does he say? Something beautiful. Okay, something beautiful. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, what's beautiful today is, oh, this is a good clip. Is this is Trump up there? What does it sound like? Another way to spend my money for the country.
Anything I do is financed by me, so you don't have to worry, it's contributed. Just like my salary is contributed, but nobody ever mentions that. Sir, you can add another level.
I've never even seen up top here. I didn't know you could even walk around on it. Of course, you can hear the classic DC sirens wailing because DC is a failed state. And ladies and gentlemen, just a beautiful thing, again, to see. Just like our verse of the day is a beautiful thing to see every single day from 1 Corinthians 15:58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, immovable, and always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. Be steadfast, immovable, and abounding in the work of the Lord. We approach our work every single day with abundance. We are thrilled to do this and to join you. And we are also thrilled to announce that we are so close to $500,000 here on Holly's fundraiser. Holly will be joining us for her first exclusive interview, explaining exactly what happened that night and what she's going to be doing with the enormous generosity that has been given to her by the American people. We are abounding in the Lord. We are abounding in the blessings of this audience and of the ability to just go out into the world and be salt and light. So we're thankful for it. We're thankful for you. May God bless you this beautiful day. And remember, no matter what, in the end, we win. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
All right, Ricky, let's get nasty.
Such a nasty one.
Swung on and miss. Sucker was moving, wasn't it?
Wild thing delivered.
You're the pup.
It's
Give him a heater.
Because you'd be in jail.
Truth gon' be faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies. Watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies. Watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.